technology is the most powerful change in the world of education. Welcome to the video interview series Augmented Reality-Based Technology in the Classroom, delivered to you by Clever Books Company.
Yes, hello everyone. We're starting again our video podcast interview, and today we have Simon as our guest. Hello, Simon.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for being with us today. And I think I'll give you the word first, and you can introduce yourself, say who you are, what you do, and then we'll start with the questions.
Okay, no problem at all. Well, my name is Simon Lewis. I'm the principal or head teacher of Carlow Educate Together National School, which is a school in Carlow town in Ireland. And I've been principal of the school since it opened 10 years ago. When I'm not being a principal, I also run an educational technology blog called Mash.ie, where I discuss the various trends in educational technology and then a whole bunch of other stuff, which probably isn't relevant to this discussion.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's very interesting. Talking about latest trends, I think the main goal of this interview is to kind of get your opinion on one of the latest technologies that are coming up to education, is the augmented reality and how it's used in schools, and if you yourself use it, or if not, then maybe what is your actually professional opinion on such technologies and what are the pros and cons?
Cool. That sounds like a good topic for discussion on a Friday morning.
Yes, that's fantastic. So I'll let you give your opinion first on what you feel about this augmented reality-based technologies, and then we'll start later with other questions.
Okay, no problem at all. So, I mean, I guess in terms of augmented reality, I guess certainly in Ireland, it seems like something that's almost futuristic rather than current, which is, I suppose, would be the best way of summing it up for us. We're still kind of quite behind where industry might be in terms of how we use technology in educational settings, just in general. I mean, there's, to talk about augmented reality, there's probably a number of teachers using it individually, but as a wide kind of reaching thing, I think it's something that potentially we might not actually see regularly, certainly in primary school classrooms, for a good few years, because there's so many different building blocks we need to kind of get past to get to a situation where people feel comfortable or ready to actually enter that world of augmented reality, despite almost everyone under 30 using a form of augmented reality every single day of their lives. And that, when I say that, I mean by things like Snapchat and Facebook, where they're putting masks on themselves all the time. That is a form of augmented reality, and while it might be very trite, it's being used, and how we map that into an educational setting, in a pedagogical setting, I think will be the challenge, bringing teachers where they are to a point where they're comfortable using something that they're already using in an educational setting. So I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at. It's such a new thing. Certainly in Ireland, that I'm not sure how far away we are from it being widespread, or if it will take off at all. I mean, every day something new comes around, and some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. But I think augmented reality is something that's going to stick at some point. It's just when.
Okay, and why do you think that, is it something that the teachers are not ready yet, or they don't know how to use such tools? Because there are a lot of educational apps with augmented reality already available on the market, and some of them are obviously free, some of them are paid for. But why do you think that the teachers are not willing maybe as much to use it, or the schools are not willing to adapt it as quick as it could go potentially?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's lots and lots of reasons. One reason why any form of technology or new technologies aren't coming into classrooms as quickly. One, I guess, is security and web safety and all that sort of stuff, where there's a fear that once you do something online, where does it go afterwards, and how is it controlled, and how is it safe, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think that's the main reason. It's just our reason. A big reason is we've such little investment in technology in Ireland that we don't have the equipment to basically do it at all, whether we want it or not. The vast majority of Irish schools are running on satellite broadband connections of less than 1 megabit, and it's just impossible to do anything great with such low-level technology. It's possible, but difficult. We don't have a culture of bringing your own devices into school, in primary school level at least, which is problematic. I mean, and then I suppose, I don't think, there's a lot of apps out there, but I don't think they've been absolutely, well, some of them have obviously been designed for education. I think they're also in their infancy of how effective they are, particularly at primary level. I've been looking at some of your stuff, and it looks great for bringing the abstract into a kind of a visual way, particularly in mathematics and things like that. So mapping that onto a primary school curriculum is, I suppose, is something that I guess would be the thing to convince people of their use. But there's so many different variables, and very little of them to do with actually augmented reality, more to do with infrastructure, foundation, investment, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the conversations that are happening in primary schools are just so far removed from the realities of industry, where things are just accepted. You know, to even buy a laptop for a school is a massive investment. You know, it's €500 that we don't have, and you know, it's those kind of things, or you know, so sadly, you know, we're starting from a very low base. So bringing it to something where we're even looking at AR or anything like that is it's a dream, really, in a way, that we'd love to be able to do it.
Okay, and have you had the chance to look at certain apps that are actually available now at AR? Because you mentioned a couple of challenges that the schools are facing. First of all, as far as I understand, is the internet connection, and secondly is actually the equipment that is needed. And as far as I understand, it's also the training that the teachers need. And we've had a couple of other guests, and they've actually, you know, also mentioned all those issues. And but I'm not sure if actually schools are aware in certain way that you don't need the internet connection with some applications that use AR, and you know, some of them, as I said, are quite available without the investment. And but kind of, how do you feel like if all these challenges were not in place, do you think it's also the teachers' commitment to try to use something new and try to implement it as a supplementary to the curriculum? Is it like the resistance from their side as well?
There's probably partially a bit of that, a bit of resistance. I mean, I get there's that you can do a lot of this for free, and there's some, you know, I mean, there's been apps available for donkey's years. You know, Voki would have been one that's been around for a long time, that people would have been using, pockets of people are using to kind of do that kind of thing. I don't think there's any particular, the resistance really isn't based on on anything bad, you know, like that you know, I just don't want to do something new, or I don't like change, or whatever it is. It's just starting from where people are at, and I think people are further behind in terms of their confidence in using technologies to do great things. I mean, all teachers these days can use technology, and they use it in their everyday lives. I mean, I was giving the example that, you know, pretty much everybody under 30 is on Snapchat, and they're using augmented reality all the time, every day, for trite reasons. But it's this thing about mapping what you normally do in your everyday life into a pedagogical setting, and the creativity needed to do that just is missing, whatever that might be. You know, it's something, I don't know, that might be lacking from teacher training of, you know, here's something, anything, whatever it could be. I could give a teacher a brick of Lego and say, okay, do something creative with that. And, you know, and creative teachers will do something amazing with that. But, you know, that's the key driver. And I suppose they need to see examples of this. I suppose everything comes down to champions and role models, and getting them into schools and seeing them in action. And I suppose then they'll be tried out. You know, it's just, I don't know what the answer is. If I knew, I would be, I think I'd be a millionaire at this stage. But there is something, there's this switch that hasn't clicked yet. And while a few people are doing it, it's not widespread, and you need to meet that critical mass, I guess, so it becomes the norm. Much like lots of other technologies have become the norm in primary schools in Ireland, and it's just reaching that critical mass.
Yes, that's right. There are many schools actually trying 3D printing, the virtual reality, and again, the smart boards were also one day something new and innovative. And at the end of the day, they're quite popularly used in some schools around the world, and part of their everyday life for the kids now.
Well, this is it. And actually, as you mentioned, smart boards or interactive whiteboards. Before interactive whiteboards came into Ireland, nobody really used technology at all. I think the statistics at the time in 2005 were 4% of teachers used technology in every day in their lives in 2005. That's not that long ago. And after 2009, after interactive whiteboards pretty much came to every school, almost 100% of teachers now use technology every day in their teaching in some form. So that was one device that captured the imaginations and captured of teachers, and they were able to use it. Now, whether they use it well or not isn't the argument. They're actually using it. We're seeing other things that seem to be happening a little bit more. Video seems to be a massive thing that teachers are taking on and using in their everyday teaching. You'll see every day a school will upload something to their YouTube channel, and it might capture the imagination of the country or whatever. And I suppose the next step from that is using virtual reality, using augmented reality. And it just takes something cool to happen, let's say, within one school, and all of a sudden every school wants to do it. Ireland's a small country, so
yes,
it's not, we only have a few thousand schools, and we all want to be better than the other one. In a way, you want to be as good as the school up the road, and and you see pockets of that happening, and the influence of key people driving those sort of things forward.
Yeah, and it's, as you said, it's more about knowing how it works in other schools for the teachers and understanding how to best implement it, and something that is already existing, and the training, the understanding, and then it will be more brought to the classroom, I guess, for different subjects.
Yeah, there has to be an advantage. I always think technology has to be better than, has to make a lesson better than what you do without it. And I think there's potential for augmented reality to do that. There's loads of ways. It's infinite really what augmented reality can bring to a classroom. But it's finding the thing that really makes everyone say, okay, actually, we actually need this in our classrooms, rather than it just being something nice and fun and maybe, motivating for a little bit because it's bright and shiny and new. And it's kind of making, like the interactive whiteboard, it was sexy for a while, and now people just use it, and there's nothing amazing about it anymore.
Become a normality.
What's that?
Become a normality, something that everyone uses, part of.
Yeah, and at the moment AR is sexy and shiny and lovely, but it needs to become normal, and that's, I think, the challenge, and while things are new, a few people will use it, and then really it's how to normalize it around the use. And I think it has great potential. I'm not involved in second level, but I can see how it's a no-brainer how it would bring that boring sort of looking at books all day to another dimension, and I think that's where great potential will be. I can see that happening at primary level as well if just the right thing comes along.
Right. It's a matter of bringing the value. I think any technology, when it implements in schools, bringing the value for the kids' learning, and also make the lessons more interactive, more engaging, and that the kids have the better ability to learn and understand certain subjects.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose classrooms have to transform from 20th century or 19th century models to 21st century models, and we are stuck in rectangular rooms with lots of tables and lots of chairs, and that's problematic in a way. And for something like AR or VR or anything where we're using 21st century tools, how do you use the physical spaces that we have
right.
To actually for AR to work? Because again, AR can work obviously in groups, but how do you create the environments where it will where physically in these constraining places that they'll work better? It's possible. Anything is possible, I always think. So it's just a matter. I mean, there are variables that we just have to look at. There is the physical psychology of schools and what they look like and what those physical spaces create on the psychology of the students that are in them. If you have an open plan kind of place to work from, that's much easier. But schools don't have that. They have small boxes which you have to work in, and that's a challenge too.
Mm. Yes, that's interesting. And actually, you mentioned the psychological influence on kids' learning. There have been a number of research about AR or VR benefiting the kids with learning difficulties and less academic kids. What is your professional opinion? Would it have a positive or a negative influence if the schools will bring it in?
I mean, inevitably, anything that has a different, it taps into a different intelligence will benefit children who are at that, who succeed at that particular intelligence. I mean, schools, traditional schools before the era of technology, there was, if you were, if you could read, write, and do arithmetic and all that kind of stuff, you would succeed in school by learning stuff off by heart, by filling your head with information and then putting it out. Technology has completely changed that and has given children more democracy over their own learning and has given them opportunities that they didn't have before. I mean, particularly for visual learners, children who are more artistic, children who are more musical, children who learn in different ways. And naturally, there are children who, where if they have a virtual world that they can interact with, or they have an augmented world they can interact with, it's naturally going to give them benefits if that's the style of learning that they have. I don't necessarily think it can be divided into people who are higher ability or lower ability, and then children who have lower abilities would benefit from augmented reality per se. I think it's actually styles of learners who will benefit. So you could so it doesn't really matter what your ability might be cognitively or whatever it might be. I think it's this is just another way, another methodology that could be used to help children learn. And I mean, hopefully, it's something that can happen, because anything that helps a child to learn it has to be beneficial.
Okay, and can you tell me just in general, talking about immersive technologies used in education, what do you think, in your opinion, are most, let's say, promising technologies that are coming up in 2018, and the ones probably that could be easier implemented in the classroom and need less investment or training maybe?
I to be honest, in Ireland, I can only speak for Ireland really. I think like VR is kind of a bit away as well. VR and AR, I suppose, are the two that we're interested in this discussion. I don't think 2018 is going to be their year, particularly. I think you're more the next decade maybe, where things might hold. I think next year. I think the battle really between our big three friends in Apple, Google and Microsoft, where they try and capture the collaborative classroom environments, the virtual classroom through their various classroom tools, whether that's Google Classroom or Microsoft's version of Classroom or Apple's Classroom, and which of those is going to win the battle for collaborative learning, whether that's shared documents, shared presentations. So nothing really to do with virtual reality or augmented reality. I think it's still going to be that whole idea of children, of embracing collaboration between children and breaking down the walls in the classroom, but very much only at that level rather than bringing it up to the next level, which I think will be interacting immersively, let's say, in technology. I mean, I kind of think the physical spaces of schools is going to be actually more of a challenge than anything else, and maybe the mindsets of teachers isn't as big a deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not going to be as big a deal as, I think, the physical restraints of where we work and where children are trying to, if you have 30 children in a very small space and they're trying to physically work around that small space, that's quite difficult. I think they're things. So I think 2018 really is the year of the virtual classroom, I'd suggest. And I would possibly think as well that video is going to increase, as in children creating their own videos to enhance their learning, and use short, snappy, quick videos. Yeah, I think they're the two big stories for next year.
Okay, well, sounds fantastic. And maybe if we summarize everything that we've talked about and coming back to, a topic of augmented reality, within our discussion, you did mention a couple of challenges and in implementing augmented reality in the classroom, and that it might take longer, than just the next year or the upcoming year. And one of the challenges you mentioned is actually the physical workspace and the mindset and also the budget, etc. Can you just summarize and wrap up maybe with three major challenges, to your opinion, that actually will influence the decision to bring such technologies to the classroom?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. I suppose the first biggest problem is how ready teachers are to take on the next step of immersive technology. There's, I'd say, probably less than 100 teachers in Ireland that have even tried it or used it at all. Even in their in an educational setting. So I'd say that's number one. And there's a bunch of problems, a bunch of challenges that can be solved from there. Number two is just the physical space of schools, and they're not designed to work very well with 21st century learning. They're very much designed towards the 19th century, industrial age. They haven't changed very much. Every classroom might have a few extra bits of technology, but they still very much look like 19th century classrooms, which were suited to a different era, and that's not going to change very soon either. And then I suppose it's really the investment for this kind of thing, and we do need better infrastructure in Ireland in order to be able to have the ability to use immersive technologies. And I don't know, we're so far away from that in terms of government investment in technology. We're playing catch up for the last 20 years, and I know there is money coming to schools that wasn't there before, but we've so much to catch up on that it may take a little bit longer than you guys might want and I might want. But the light at the end of the tunnel really is, I think it is going to happen, and I think we're going to find a few digital champions out there. There are quite a few of them. There's some great societies in Ireland of teachers who are involved in technology and education, and they're the people who will be showcasing all this stuff. And the greatest advantage is this is very impressive looking stuff. It does, someone only has to look at immersive technology or experience immersive technology and be sold. I have been on the moon through Google Expeditions and with VR goggles, and I absolutely was blown away by that by that kind of thing. And I would love the opportunity to be able to do that in a classroom. I can't right now, but I know that in the future that's going to easily happen, that I'll be able to bring children on a safari, I'll be able to bring children to the local, to somewhere else in the world, to Mars or whatever. I'll also be able to bring them on the street, and they'll be able to look at the device, and because they're at that device, we have augmented reality abilities, we'll be able to give them information, they'll be able to create information that will enhance that area, whatever it might be. Maybe the local playground, they can create an augmented reality version of that, of how fast are you going down the side, and things like that, and that can be measured, and that can be built up and stuff like that. I mean, it's all going to happen. It's just a matter of when is it going to happen.
Yes, well, that's a great promise, and it sounds fantastic, and let's hope that it's going to come even faster than we expect and hope.
Well, I hope so too.
Yes. Well, Simon, thank you very much for your time and for a fantastic interview. It's very much appreciated and very much valued of your professional opinion. And it was a pleasure to have you around.
Yeah, and lovely to talk to you too. And the very best of luck with everything.
Yes, thank you, Simon. Appreciate that.
Everything changes.